Hi, my name's Tim Richardson of BAITBIGFISH.com. I've had a question about making liquid food base mixes for pastes and boilies, and specifically about CC Moore Feed Stim XP. And I don't know if it's because they're having difficulties sourcing it in Europe or what. But yeah, I was a consultant for CC Moore. I've been out of fishing for a little while. I'm sure a lot of people have with COVID and so on. Just getting back into doing videos now, and so I'll show you my take on it. And it's basically a very salty, yeasty, highly nutritional, highly successful liquid additive. Let's see what my take on it is. So what we've got here is extra age Marmite. So we've got autolyzed yeast here, and I've got a jar here with 500 mils of warm water. What I've done is I've added 3 tablespoons of autolyzed yeast to it, and additionally I've added 2 tablespoons of molasses too. So what we've got here are a load of free amino acids and minerals, so they're enhancing each other. And I've also added a tablespoon of Himalayan salt. So I've got a couple of elements here. This particular brand is made up of 4 different cereals, and that's barley, wheat, oat and rye. So they're contributing the aminos and the other nutrients in this liquid food. But there are other things that I'm adding. Additionally, I'm using CC Moore amino acid blend. So this is soluble in a range of temperatures. So at least some are going to be semi-soluble, at least down into the winter temperatures, water temperatures. Highly effective, very well proven. Use this kind of these kind of blends for years and years. So what we're doing is fortifying the yeast with salts and mineralized salts and additional free-form amino acids. If this was a summer blend, then you could go for bouillon, vegetable bouillons as well. This particular one contains 3 different fats, so I wouldn't recommend that for winter. It would make your bait more insoluble, which is not what we want. And also, what I'm doing, summer or winter, what I'm doing, I'm adding about 2.5 teaspoons of a strong coffee, instant coffee. That's for the caffeine content. So I really believe in that aspect of bait. The alkaloids are very important in my mind, in my experience, for sure. Additionally, because that has a bitter edge to it, what I'm doing, I'm sweetening everything with this. This is a natural sweetener to leaf extract called stevia. So this is a teaspoon of stevia, and many times sweeter than sucrose sugar. And this is the close-up of the free amino acid blend from CC Moore. See how close we can get with it, focusing if possible. So there we go. It's just a fine powder with it's highly aromatic, highly soluble. Bosh, there we go. It's your choice. You can also add cocoa powder, so you add a bit of theobromine alongside the caffeine. So I think there's about 4 times less theobromine in cocoa powder, but it's 4 times stronger than caffeine in my research. So that's something which is worth considering. I've done very well on cocoa baits over the years. Additionally, is one more thing that I'm going to add in this blend, and that is I have a base mix here, and I'm going to add a tablespoon of this, The only reason I'm adding that really is because it has a combination of soluble proteins. It gives it more palatability, and there are live yeasts in there. And if you don't have any live yeasts, I used to make the mistake of thinking that Marmite was live because of the way it affects people's digestive systems. But actually, what I've read and discovered is that it works as a kind of activator for live yeasts. So what I've got here, just for an example, is bread making yeast. So I'm going to put just a sample of that in. This is just if you haven't got any access to soluble live yeasts. So this is a way of activating your liquid food instantly. So you can use this as a bait dip, bait soak. If you're going to do that, I'd add far more Marmite, because at the moment this is very liquidy. I'd make it very, very dense with far more Marmite. But anyway, or soluble powdered yeast. But anyway, that is the starting point for winter. Just remember, if you are making something for the winter, just can take account of the fats and oils. Make sure that they are either winterized, adding emulsifiers, liquid or powder emulsifiers, or you avoid the fats and go for oils that are well proven in lower temperatures. And one which I have here. Okay, we've got so this is actually it's a chili. So this is actually aged cayenne pepper extract in vinegar. And so I'm going to add a little bit of this, and this is going to diversify your bait. Believe me, this is really hot, so you don't need a lot, but it does make all the difference in bait. Impacts in the winter and summer for that matter. So there we go. That's it. Give it a really, really good thorough mixing. If you want to make it more concentrated, go ahead and do that. With the Marmite, you can't overload it. Extremely soluble. So these are the pastes which I've made, and these are going to be winter baits, but they could be summer, doesn't matter. They're very high protein, and these are going to be free baits or PVA baits, as in a PVA product bag or whatever, or they could be paste within a stocking or whatever you wish to use, which is also a very, very effective method for big fish. And what I'm going to do with these is heat them and then coat them. Okay, these are floated and they're ready for extraction and coating. Okay, so I've got the coating powder ready. The large bits you see in here are the breadcrumbs, and this is all ready for you to put the boilies straight in and coat them. So let's go for it. Here we go. These boilies have been put straight in the coating, given them a good shake, and the soluble aspects of the coating have impregnated the surface of the baits, and the egg, which would have formed an insoluble barrier, that's been impregnated with soluble materials, which allows water inside the bait and allows them to function correctly. But even better than that, the best bonus about this method is as the baits start to absorb water around the surface, because there are breadcrumbs impregnated into the surface of the bait, then the actual surface of the bait starts to open up and lift off. And it's not just breadcrumbs, it's particulates as well, soluble particles and so on. So you've actually got an active bait here made with a very simple method of adding soluble additives and breadcrumbs, and it's all ready-made. So it's a homemade ready-made edge, and just to show you what this is made out of, here we go. So these are the breadcrumbs. The breadcrumb mix is it's a spice mix. So this is the old El Paso. So there's loads of peppers and so on here, salts and so on. Additionally, I've got my own mix in here of coating powder, and this is a very diverse blend. So just off the top of my head, some of the things that are in here are reducing sugars. I've got powdered maltose, I've got paprika, got chili powders, I've got salt, I've got betaine. I'll show you something else which is quite interesting. These are the original paste baits which I made, which I've just coated. So these are dominated by milk proteins, which tend to be extremely dense when heated. So it's even more important to coat baits like this. And baits like this can also additionally be cured in bacon curing salts. This is a little edge for all year round anyway. This is a mixture of garlic granules and a chili powder. Add a bit of salt to that, and you've got a really good instant coating powder, and something that you can actually mix up as a paste and put in your PVA as well. And so anyway, what else have I got in my blend? Okay, so yeah, as you may well know, I was a C. Seymour consultant for several years, and I think they kind of took the idea of feedstim.com off Luke. Originally I did a load of field testing for his extracts because his site was inspired by my ebooks. So he sent me tons and tons of samples. I tested them out, took a load of photos. So those were the photos you saw originally on his site, feedstim.com. And this is why I recommend C. Seymour and Feedstim together, because I've tested the two independently and in combination for many years. So my clients and readers. So anyway, amino acid mix. This is C. Seymour blend. There's many blends of amino acids you can produce. This might look like an amino acid blend, but it's not. It's actually citric acid. So this is what is called a true feeding trigger. So it triggers feeding behaviours independently of anything else when in solution in presence of carp. Additionally, this is ascorbic acid. Of course, you get these two in lime juice and lemon juice in different ratios, and they're brilliant feeding triggers, and they enhance many other aspects of your bait too, and thoroughly well proven. And of course, citric acid, being an extraordinary antioxidant, is used commercially as a bait preservative. I don't go that far. I don't try and preserve my baits in citric acid. Many companies do this, and really what you can do now with these baits, going back to the breadcrumbs, is allow them, again, just keep them shaking them, allow them to soak in the powders. So what we have here are these baits, and yeah, going further with this, within these powders you've got live yeast. So what I'd suggest is dry these baits as they are, and add a bit of salt, freeze them in the Ziploc bags. Okay, I like to use small batches because you can treat them in different ways, and of course if you use two different hook baits and different hook baits on different rods, you can get different results on any given day or night. And so that's worth bearing in mind. Fish are very sensitive to different substances individually, because they're all sensitive in different ways to different substances in the moment. And I'm talking about triggering feeding in the moment here. You can add live yeast to the powder blend right now. So what I'd suggest is anyway, freeze these, dry the bait, freeze them, and then add a bit more liquid. You can use spray flavours, make a liquid blend of all sorts, liquid foods, you name it. Spray them and then coat them in the powders again. And what I'll do further is repeat the process, and then I'll show you what happens with these baits in the water, and you'll see they're very different to the standard inert baits in cold water. So this is a brilliant winter cold water edge, or all year round edge for that matter, because the surface of these baits is active. Okay, I'll show you next. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Loads of activity compared to an inert boilie. Da, da, da. If you want clouding water to attract your fish, this is the way to do it. Certainly localised around your hook bait. 20 minutes in, very cloudy water, good amount of sediment around the baits. Baits totally opened up, and it's working the water column very well. Loads of clouding, and that will be right up to the surface of the water, as you can see there. So let's give it more time to see what happens. Bearing in mind there's boilies inside these. Mm, 1 hour. This is 4 hours. The baits have completely disappeared because they're buried in the coatings. Fantastic. The water's nicely clouded, and all this has been working the water column up to the surface. Okay. So somewhere in there are the boilies. So you can just imagine fish swimming somewhere in the vicinity and disturbing that lot, creating a gigantic cloud. So 4 hours later, there's a layer of sediment, the water's totally clouded, and I've just pulled out one of the baits off the bottom here, and there we go. Thoroughly hydrated in the surface. You can see the coating still adhering inside the coating of the boilie. So that bait is working perfectly from the centre outwards. Perfect for pickup. Great stuff.